What is up, guys? So let's be honest, we're always improving at whatever we do, inside of League, outside of League, whatever we spend time doing, we should be getting better at it. This video is going to go over the best ways to improve and learn at any game, any champion, any role. This is another video with the folks over at Pro Guides. You can check the guides, builds, the new genius thing, all that lovely stuff down below. Like this video if you did, dislike it if you don't, and let me know how you actually improve in the comment section. So there are really three things to improving your knowledge, mechanics, and attitude. You're going to need all three of them if you want to get anywhere. So what do I mean with knowledge? Well, it's basically the what, why, and when. What do I do? Why do I do it? And now I know the how, when do I do it? For League specific, it's things like matchups and champions, abilities, items, their power, like what they're good at, map awareness, what to do in team fights, minion control. Basically, it's knowing what you want to do and when you want to do it. So the word mechanics can mean a bunch of different stuff depending on who you ask, but basically it's really just executing on what you know. It's the timing of things, it's the accuracy of your mouse, your skills, your skill shots, movement, even CS I guess for League. Basically it's the ability to do something that you want to do. So attitude is the last one, and I'm not just going to give you some waffly advice or anything about how like you have to make friends with everyone to win a game, because that's not true. We're going to be focusing on your stuff. To improve, you have to accept that you're going to lose to learn. You learn the most when you lose a game. It's as simple as that. Take each game as a lesson. Whether you win it or lose it, there's always going to be something that you've done well or badly that you can do more of in the future or do less of in the future if you made a mistake. The final thing is actually to just have fun. Like whatever you're going to do, whether it's League or outside of life, this is a life coach fine now by the way, you'll always improve more. You'll always do it better if you're having fun while you're doing it. So the knowledge side of things is almost always where you're going to start with. You have to learn what you're doing in the first place. The reason I actually wanted to do this video is because I play a lot of games. If it's competitive and I can take a dump on someone, chances are I've played it. Most recently I got rank 1 in Hearthstone in 2 seasons, DMG in Counter-Strike as well. Not the best ever, but they're not bad either. So did I have the time to just be the best and play 24/7? No way. Daily videos are killing me, so I made sure I maximized my time to learn as quickly as I could. The first thing I'd always do is search up a guide or a video on the game, the champion, the role. Find someone who actually knows what they're talking about, listen, read, whatever, and find out what you need to know to start. In Hearthstone, I actually found a legend player who I quizzed a bit. I asked him about decks and stuff and then went off to do some research based on what he told me. This is by far the most important part of a new role, a new champion, new game, new hobby, sport, even in the bedroom, especially in the bedroom. Find out what you need to do and how it works before you do it. Pro life tips with Fire. That one is free, that's on me. Well, you're going to get the knowledge side of things through practice and research. Those are the two biggest ways you can improve it. So how do you actually use that knowledge and improve as a player? That's probably quite an important thing to go over. Well, you focus on one thing at a time. Trust me, just pick one thing and then master it before moving on to anything else. With League, you could use this example for champions, like play a champ over and over to get good with them, a technique like freezing, or even just CS or trading. Just spend a game where you focus more on that one thing than anything else. So you make an effort to not trade very much, but you CS well, or you trade often and not concentrate on CS as much. For Counter-Strike, mouse control and positioning is really important, and mainly like following a corner or keeping your aim at head level. These are things that take practice, and for games at a time, for hours even, I'd focus specifically on keeping that aim where it's supposed to be, not worrying about my kills or if I won or anything, just so my mouse control was better. Point of this is that once you've got that one thing into your head, once you've practiced it enough, it becomes habit, part of muscle memory, so that you do it without really even thinking, and that leaves you to focus on something else or the general game instead. This is also exactly what your mechanics are really, the ability to do something. So even though this is applying your knowledge, well, I guess that's what mechanics are. You're applying your knowledge and you're making your mechanics even better. So step number 2, focus on yourself first. The key thing to being good at any team sport is being a good player to start with. You need to learn the basics, you need to work on your personal things before you take a look at anything else. Trust me on this one, okay? Even though League is a team game, you'd be surprised how far you can get by just being really good yourself. So if you're learning a new champion, this is where you'd be figuring out what you can do, how much damage you can do, what your trade looks like, how you can set up kills, or how you team fight effectively. effectively. It's also like if you jump into a fight and die, instead of being like, okay, he's stronger, you want to look at yourself. Okay, what did I do there so I know that doesn't work? In Hearthstone, for example, you'd be forgetting about your opponent and how he just combo killed you or whatever. Think about how you played that game. Did I use my mana properly? Did I use the correct cards each turn? Could I have done something differently? Or did I actually just play a good game? Step number 3. Once you have that champion or lane down, start to focus on the stuff around you and your opponents. In a solo lane, there are 2 people. So while we now have a good idea of what we can do, we need to know what they can do and how that matchup works. Whenever you're playing any lane, any fight, or any game really, you need to be thinking about what your opponent is likely to do as well as what you can do. The best example is someone like Zed. His ultimate, while a major damage source in a lot of matchups, actually needs to be used after your opponent does something. Like with a Fizz matchup, right? If Fizz ults first, then you can dodge the shark by using your ult, but if you ult first, then he can shark you and you can't dodge it. Basically, we have a really good idea of what we are capable of from our first 2 steps, but now this is where we are applying it and figuring out the best way to use them. So let's just run down these things for a new champion, a new role, and a new game, and how you'd actually improve and learn these things. You look at a guide, you understand the basics like abilities, what he does, items, masteries, and runes. The next thing is to understand what the champion is actually designed to do. So Draven is a lane bully and he revolves mostly around bursting someone down. Then you need to practice them and focus on yourself, focus on learning the champion. So like catching axes, then axe placement, then using your W properly, then ultimate cancel. All of these things need to be done, but one at a time. Once we have that stuff down and we're a good Draven player, then we need to start thinking about our opponent. We need to place the axes in safe locations or behind minions to dodge skill shots, your E to cancel dashes when they try to get away. If they could beat you in a fight, how would they do it so we can avoid it? For a new role, we'll look at mid. The first thing, again, look at a guide to understand basics like items, roaming, pushing, summoner spells. Pick a simple champion or a champion that you know already so you can focus on the more lane dynamic stuff rather than worrying about what your champion does. Focus on one thing at a time, roaming properly, warding, lane control, pushing, invading, CSing, team fighting, whatever it is, just make sure that each game you pick something and you try and do it as much as possible. Last thing, focus on your opponent. How do you beat them 1v1? How do you beat them in lane? How do you pressure them away and punish them? How do they stop what I want to do? For a new game, let's look at Hearthstone. Beginner's guide for basic concepts, different decks, fatigue, car values, deck goals, stuff like that. The next thing will be focusing on yourself, like mana usage each turn, proper mulligan at the start, your deck strategy, what is your deck designed to do, the correct card selection each turn, your game plan. Once you have all that stuff down and you can actually comfortably play your own deck, you want to focus on your opponent. You need to work out what their deck is actually going to do. What cards you expect determines what cards you play, their strategy, and how that affects yours. Really focusing on your opponent, that is the thing that takes you to another level as a gamer, I guess. That is the thing that really separates you from someone else. If you can predict what the enemy is going to do, then you're always going to be one step ahead. So this was actually a bit different from what I normally do, but hopefully you guys found this useful, and this is something I personally use a lot when playing new games or trying to main new champions. Thank you again to ProGuides for editing this together for me. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, but for now, let's go to the robots.